If your daughter suddenly appeared in front of you with a completely different personality, would you notice that she had actually been replaced by someone else? The normally carefree, tomboyish girl was now elegant and refined. Even stranger, she deliberately added dad at the end of every sentence.
And why do you keep saying dad at the end of every sentence?
I'm sorry, I didn't realize I was doing it, Dad.
Nick just thought his daughter had changed after being away for so long, and chalked it all up to a girl's natural growth. But this careless man had no idea that the girl sitting in his passenger seat, gazing at him with adoring eyes, was actually his other biological daughter, the one he'd never met. 2 months earlier, at summer camp, and a wealthy London heiress made a graceful entrance in a luxury car, and there, in the camp, was a girl named Hallie, who looked exactly like her. Their first meeting wasn't some touching, heartwarming reunion. It was full of hostility. At the fencing match, they were evenly matched, neither willing to back down. But the moment they took off their masks, time around them seemed to stand still. They stared at each other as if looking into a mirror, and had neat, proper long hair, and carried herself with elegance. Hallie had trendy earrings, and wore flashy nail polish. One was bound by rules and craved perfection. The other was free-spirited, wild and untamed. They were two completely different personalities, yet they shared an uncanny connection. They were both allergic to strawberries, and both loved dipping Oreos in peanut butter. Most importantly, they shared the same birthday. Then they talked about their parents, and had never met her father, and Hallie had never known her mother. As it happened, they both had a photograph of their parents that had been torn in half. At that, as if to confirm their suspicions, they both pulled out photos. If everything before could still be chalked up to coincidence, then those two torn halves of a photograph, fitting together perfectly, turned all those coincidences into fact. They were a pair of long-lost twin sisters. Their parents' failed marriage had not only torn a photo in two, it had torn their lives apart as well, and had an abundance of motherly love. But every time she saw other kids sitting on their father's shoulders, she felt a pang of loneliness. Hallie had a father's full devotion, but on every late night when she needed a hug, there was no mother to turn to. So the two 11-year-old girls made a crazy decision to swap lives and live in each other's homes. They believed that even if the secret was eventually exposed, their parents would just swap them back, and maybe it would bring their mom and dad back together. The next day, they began intensive training. Hallie told in every corner of the house, and every family member's habits and personality, and taught Hallie the family's unique greeting gesture. But to fool their parents, that wasn't enough. Their appearances had to be flawless too. So when cut off her beloved long hair, and needed to get an earring just like Hallie's, no anesthetic, just an ice cube, a heated needle, and an apple beneath her earlobe. With the two of them screaming, the earring was done. To earn the love they had been missing, they willingly stripped away their old selves, and played the role of another soul. And so, Hallie boarded a flight to the bustling city of London, while flew to sun-drenched California.
Hey, Hal!
Oh gosh, it's him.
As soon as Anne got off the plane, she saw the father she'd gazed at in photos 1,000 times. Meanwhile, on the other side, the plane had just landed, and the butler was there to take Hallie home. But her short hair made him do a double take. Luckily, Hallie was quick on her feet. She casually said she'd wanted a change, then greeted him with the gesture and had taught her, and passed that hurdle with ease. On the drive, Hallie's heart was pounding so hard she could barely breathe. She kept praying that her mother would like her, terrified that she'd be seen as nothing but a wild child who rolled around in the mud. But when she finally saw the woman, whose face she'd traced in photos countless times, all her worries melted away.
Annie? Mother, you're back!
Hallie clung tightly to her mother, Elizabeth, breathing in her scent greedily. In the days that followed, the two girls absorbed the love they'd been missing, ravenously, in their new worlds. Hallie accompanied her mother to her studio, watching her shine at work, her eyes full of admiration, and walked through her father's vineyard, and rode horses on the estate with him, feeling the warmth of his broad chest. But a huge crisis soon shattered everything, and discovered that her father, Nick, was planning to get married. Nick was a classic avoidant personality. 11 years ago, when his wife Elizabeth stormed out, he stayed silent, and didn't try to stop her. 11 years later, faced with the beautiful, proactive, and emotionally undemanding Meredith, he went along with it and accepted her proposal. But this young woman, though pretty, was shrewd and extremely materialistic. A few days earlier, Nick had let her ride the horse Hallie used to ride, and Meredith tried to use that as a power move, only to be smartly shut down by Anne, who said compared to other women, that was pretty mild.
What others?
It's always the same routine, horseback riding through the vineyards, romantic dinners with his special reserved label wine.
Here we go. A bottle of my special reserve label.
But Meredith didn't care about any of that. She was already scheming to send and to boarding school the moment she married Nick, never to return. When Hallie in London heard the news, she panicked. The wedding was in 2 weeks. If they still wanted their parents to get back together, they had to act fast. Hallie promised to go find her mother right away, and tell her the whole truth. But she had no idea that her grandfather had been standing nearby, overhearing everything. Left with no choice, Hallie laid out the entire plan from start to finish, and earnestly begged him to help them. So early the next morning, with her grandfather's encouragement, Hallie wrapped herself in a thick blanket, mustered her courage and confessed everything. Then, she made a humble plea.
I'm sorry, but I've never seen you, and I dreamt of meeting you my whole life, and I hope you're not mad because I love you so much, and I just hope that one day you could love me as me, and not as Annie.
In that moment, Hallie dropped all her defenses. She was just a little girl desperate for a mother's love, and terrified of being abandoned. And Elizabeth, too, underwent a transformation. She decided to fly to California with Hallie to find her other daughter, and confront the past she'd run from for 11 years. To steady her nerves, Elizabeth drank the entire flight. She was nervous, uneasy, afraid that after all these years, she'd lost her good looks, and even more afraid that Nick wouldn't even recognize her. But the moment Nick spotted her across the bustling crowd, time seemed to freeze. His gaze locked onto Elizabeth. He was dazed, walking toward her like a lovesick teenager, so distracted that he tripped over a chair and tumbled embarrassingly into the pool. An 11-year reunion, and Nick made his entrance in the most mortifying way possible. That immediately eased Elizabeth's tension, but Nick's mind was a mess. He was dying to know why Elizabeth was there. Just then, Hallie suddenly appeared. Seeing both of his daughters standing there at the same time, Nick finally understood everything. The girls came clean about the whole plan, but Nick wasn't angry at all. He felt it was fate giving them another chance. With the truth out, the sisters moved to the next phase of their plan, getting their parents back together. With their grandfather's funding, they booked a yacht, and recreated the romantic dinner from the photo taken 11 years ago, when their parents had first met on a cruise. Sea breeze, candlelight, and wine. Nick and Elizabeth finally sat down together, calm and composed. They talked about their careers. Nick had achieved his dream of owning a vineyard, and Elizabeth had become a top designer. Then they talked about why they'd broken up. They had been too young and too stubborn back then. After a heated argument, Elizabeth had packed her bags and left, secretly hoping Nick would chase after her and stop her. But he never did. Nick, on the other hand, thought she didn't want him to follow. Because of one emotional misunderstanding, they had lost 11 years. But time had passed, and talking about it now, their regrets faded into faint, wistful smiles. After all, Nick was about to get married. Elizabeth decided to take him back to London the next day, but the two girls deliberately styled their hair the same way, and wore identical clothes, so their parents couldn't tell them apart.
Annie.
Yes?
They refused to reveal their identities, unless the whole family of 4 went camping together. Elizabeth didn't know which daughter to take back to London, but she also felt this was a good chance for Meredith and the girls to bond, so she stepped aside, letting Meredith go on the camping trip in her place. That threw a wrench in the sisters' plan, but it also gave them the perfect opportunity to take Meredith down once and for all. For the pampered Meredith, camping was an absolute nightmare. When Nick went ahead to scout the trail, Meredith finally dropped her act, and threatened the girls, saying, once she married Nick, she'd make their lives miserable. But the sisters didn't back down. During a break, they filled her backpack with rocks, put a lizard on her head. At night, they secretly swapped her bug spray for sugar water, so Meredith was devoured by mosquitoes, and had to take sleeping pills to get any rest. While she was fast asleep, the sisters dragged her, mattress and all, into the lake. A humiliated Meredith gave Nick an ultimatum: choose between her and the 2 children, and Nick didn't hesitate for a second.
Yeah.
His sense of duty as a father completely outweighed his infatuation with beauty. With the rival out of the way, everything seemed to be heading toward a happy ending. On the night they returned home, Nick took Elizabeth down to the wine cellar he'd carefully curated over the years. He pulled out a bottle of the same wine they'd had at their wedding, which had taken him years to collect. Their faces slowly drew closer in the dim light. The tension between them was palpable. But just then, blaring headlights from outside shone in. The light not only illuminated the cellar, but also snapped Elizabeth back to her senses. 11 years apart, with separate lives carved out in between, made her afraid to gamble again. She was scared it was just a fleeting impulse, scared of repeating the same mistakes. The next morning, a heavy downpour swept through California, as if even the heavens were mourning their failed reunion. Elizabeth got into the car with her resolve firm. Nick's eyes were full of reluctance, but just like 11 years ago, he didn't stop them, and watched the rain outside the window, tears streaming down her face like broken beads. Elizabeth could only steel her heart against the pain. Life seems to be filled with regrets. But when they returned to their London villa, and were about to tell the grandpa they were safe, a familiar face appeared from behind a newspaper.
Hey Mom, did you know the Concorde gets you here in half the time? It took us around 30 seconds after you guys left for us to realize we didn't want to lose you two again.
We?
And then Nick stepped out beside them. He hadn't had the courage to stop her before. As a result, they were separated for 11 years. So no matter how strong Elizabeth seemed this time, he would not hesitate to go after her. After that, the torn photograph was finally pieced back together. Anne and Hallie, 2 little girls who had once secretly longed for the missing half of their families, each in their own small world, with astonishing determination and innocence, bravely became the ferrymen of their parents' love. And Nick and Elizabeth, as the adults, were pushed by their children to confront their own weaknesses. Nick broke through his old hesitation and passivity, learning that in love, you must fight with everything you have to hold on. Elizabeth, always independent and proud, finally let down her guard, openly admitting her longing for and need for love. The mistakes made in youthful recklessness. As long as love still lives in the heart, there is always a second chance.